So yeah guys, now that we've discussed FRA, interest rate swap, I would encourage you to understand interest rate futures after FRA and interest rate swap, because many things will start making sense, and interest rate futures in that sense will start sounding easier. So in case of an FRA and an interest rate swap, there was no underlying asset. The only underlying was the interest rate, and interest rate uncertainty was removed by fixing the interest rate. Okay, so any borrower or lender or anybody who's expecting the interest rate movements to go in a particular direction would end up entering into FRA or interest rate swaps. But here's the thing, there is one more alternative for them. They can also enter into interest rate futures and fix the interest rate. Okay, they can enter into interest rate futures and fix the interest rate. But you know what? The underlying is not interest rate. The underlying is actually a money market or basically a bond, a debt capital instrument or debt capital market instrument. So over here, the underlying is the bond, and you are fixing the price of the bond. The interesting part is you fix the price of the bond and the interest rate gets fixed. How does that really work? Let's talk about that. First of all, again, I'm talking about the. Okay, one more thing. This is not really mentioned anywhere in the book, but later I'm going to prove also. But trust me, over here, interest rate futures, the underlying, yes, it's a fixed income security, but it is a money market instrument. Why? I'll tell you a little later. So it's not really talking about a capital market instrument like a bond or something. Over here at level 1, they are talking interest rate futures in the context of underlying being a money market instrument like commercial paper, certificate of deposit, treasury bills, etc., etc. Are you getting it? Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
And I'll prove it to you why it is the case, because in your syllabus there's only one formula with regards to interest rate futures, and if you look at that formula carefully, which helps you fix the price, if you look at that formula carefully, you will realize this is exactly the same manner in which the commercial paper, the treasury bills, the certificate of deposits, all these things are quoted in the spot market exactly in the same manner. So let's go, there's a lot of things to discuss, but yeah. So let's say for example I'm a borrower, and again, as usual, I'm just worried about the interest rate pertaining to this period. An alternative is I can get interest rate futures. How does it happen? I mean, if you remember the commercial paper, uh, was when it is quoted on discount yield basis. If you remember, let's say it is for 1 year. I mean, and the par value is 100. You see, you are issuing at 97. Let's say discount yield is 3%. So how do you get 97? It is 100 minus the 3% of 100. So 100 minus 3% of the face value, which is of 100. So that's how you kind of get 97. And here's the thing, on the maturity you pay 100. So in a way you ended up paying 3, this number, this $3. Are you getting it, all of you? Clear over this? This was how the commercial paper or the certificate of deposit or treasury yield is quoted. And now here's the thing, I when I fix the price, let's say when I fix the price of the underlying fixed income security, where I'm saying that I will sell, like where I will sell the security, meaning on day 1, as soon as the interest rate futures expire, the borrower, the borrower is going to sell or issue the fixed income security. Remember, the one who's issuing the fixed income security is the borrower. So he's going to sell or issue the fixed income security on this day to the opposite party. I'll just say there's this opposite party. I'll give the name a little later. And the interesting part is, as per this contract, they are going to sell or issue, let's say, a commercial paper, after this, when the contract expires. The price of that commercial paper, is fixed today. That's when you are entering into the contract. So don't forget about that. So the price of the commercial paper is fixed today. And how do you determine the price of the commercial paper? It is exactly like this. As far as you have the information of the interest rate pertaining to this period, you can easily figure it out. I'll tell you how do you get this number, by the way. I'll tell you how to get this number. Let's say this number you already have derived, the no arbitrage one. Let's say it is 4%. And if, let's say, the par value is 100, so the price of the the commercial paper which is fixed today will be 100 minus 4%, okay, and that will be, let's say, 96. This is the price fixed today, and no matter what happens, whatever is the interest rate, whatever is the interest rate, in reality, whatever is the interest rate on this period, for on this day, doesn't matter, because the borrower will sell at $96, and the opposite party will, get the bond or the commercial paper at $96, such that on the expiry of the commercial paper or that fixed income security, the borrower is going to give $100 back to the party. This is how it is going to happen. So I don't know if you realize, even if the interest rate, for this period on this day, let's say, was 3%, you are still going to sell the bond at 96 and pay 100. So I don't know if you realize, 96 is fixed, you're going to pay 100. Point is, your $4 of interest expense is also fixed. So here, when you're fixing the price, indirectly you're also fixing the interest expense, as a borrower. So if it is 3%, so you'll be, as a borrower, will be like, oh my god, shit man, if I wouldn't have taken this futures, I would have been, like borrowing in 97 and just paying 3% interest rate. But over here, because you have agreed to sell at 96, meaning borrow at 96, you end up paying 4. So here you have a negative value. Are you getting it? And if, let's say, on this day, the interest rates for this period, let's say, turns out to be 2%, and you as a, like not 2%, let's say 6%. So over here, you as a borrower will be like, wow, wonderful. If I wouldn't have taken the interest rate futures, I would have borrowed and paid 6%, but over here, I'm just paying $4. So you're like happy. So over here, you have a positive value. So over here, point is, the borrower is the one person who is expecting the interest rate to rise, and that's why he's getting into this contract to sell the bond and fix the price today itself. And the opposite party is the one who's expecting the, expects, can you see the yellow color, by the way?
Sir, it's a bit light.
Okay, this person is expecting the interest rate for this period to rise. Where is this borrower standing? This borrower is standing over here. So he's standing over here and saying that, hey, for this period the interest rate is going to rise. Let's get into an interest rate futures contract to sell the fixed income security. Are you getting it? And this party, the opposite party, who is standing over here, is expecting the interest rates for that particular period to actually fall, and that's why he takes the opposite position. Are you getting it? So for both these parties, this $4 is kind of fixed, whatever is the actual interest rate on that day. Are you getting it, all of you? So I
Yes.
did answer you the question that, hey, when the underlying is fixed income security, fixing its price, how are you able to fix the interest rate? Well, this is how you're able to fix it. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now the interesting part is, in FRA and IRS, if you're paying fixed, if you're fixing the interest expense, you are going long FRA, long IRS, but over here, the borrower, remember, the underlying is basically, the underlying is a fixed income security. So the borrower is the one who's going to sell on day one. So the borrower is basically taking the short interest rate futures position. Basically, the borrower or anyone who's expecting the interest rate for this period to rise is actually going to take short interest rate futures, and the person who's expecting the interest rate to fall for this period, he is going to become the long interest rate futures. Are you getting it? Do not confuse, because there is an underlying which is a fixed income security. Only a borrower can issue the security. Borrower is selling the security, that means it is borrower or the person who is expecting the interest rate to rise. This person is short interest rate futures. He's selling the bond. That's how the interest rate gets fixed. And the opposite person is buying the bond, long interest rate futures. Are you clear about this, all of you? Huh? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So the next question is,
Yes, sir.
hey, how do you get this number? How do you get the number? How do you get this number? Very simple. Actually, this is too much of a mess. I'll just kind of draw the line over here again. We are talking about that how do you get the interest rate for this period while you're standing here? Very simple. I will have the current MRR, which is, let's say this is a 30-day MRR, and let's say this is again a 120-day MRR, and let's say I'm talking about commercial paper for 90-day. I can, remember the implied forward rate you calculated you for FRA is the same thing you're going to do in case of interest rate futures. Nothing new, exactly the same. And once you get the number, let's say this turns out to be 4%, then it will be like very simple, 100 minus 4%, and it's going to be 96, and it's kind of fixed. As simple as that. Okay? So
Yes,
this
sir.
is all about interest rate futures. There's one thing which I want to highlight it to you because which is, people tend to get confused here. This is the difference between FRA and interest rate swap and IRS. I'm going to talk about that a little later. I'm just trying to prove one point. Over here, when I'm comparing interest rate futures and FRA, first of all, take a note that long FRA and short interest rate futures, these both people are nothing but the borrower. They both are expecting the interest rate in future to rise. So anybody who's expecting the interest rate in future to rise will either go long FRA and short interest rate. Now here's the thing, let's say the fixed rate is, let's say, 2.21%, for example. So if the actual rate is also 2.21%, there is no payoff for both of them. They both are not really having any advantage. But I mean, remember, like, these both are expecting the interest rate to rise. So let's say if the interest rate actually rises, because 2.2%, 2.31%, so both of them are having a positive payoff, because their bet went right, the interest rate did rise. But are you realizing, in case of an FRA, the settlement happens at present value. In case of short interest rate future, that's not really the case, What I'm making you realize that if, let's say, the interest rate would have reduced by exactly the same number, like here it has increased by 0.01% and here it has decreased by 0.01%. The amount over here, the amount of gain is not exactly the amount of loss because of convexity bias, the present value calculation. But in case of short interest rate futures, there is no angle of settlement, in present value terms. So the amount of gain is exactly, and the amount of gain and loss is exactly the same. So interest rate futures value changes when the yield changes, and that is the value of the interest rate future changes in a linear manner when the yield changes. But in case of an FRA, it basically represents the convexity bias. So here's the statement: value of an FRA changes in the value of FRA is convex to the changes in the interest rate. But in case of interest rate futures, it is linear. So yeah, that's pretty much what convexity bias is talking about. And we are done discussing about interest rate futures.